Colleagues, and the last briefing for today, Colonel Lysenko, spokesperson for presidential administration on ATO issues. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. For your attention, main events in the east of Ukraine for the last 24 hours and towards Mariupol. Yesterday, the situation was as follows. The enemy shelled upon our positions using 152mm cannons and mortars near Pavlopol water basin, and the situation near Shirokino and other cities was more or less calm. Towards Donetsk, there were active military battles near airport. The enemy is using prohibited heavy weaponry and cannons and tanks, and that focused on the separation line. Also, they were shelling using artillery upon our positions near Mariinka, Starognativka, and Granitna. Near Horlivka, the enemy used 122mm mortars, and also there were groups of snipers. Those provocations fought off. ATO forces fight precisely against the stubborn enemy. Upon the stubborn enemy, also militants organize provocations and Joint Center on Control and Cooperation on ceasefire. They informed them OC mission about a night shelling by pro-Russian terrorist troops upon Horlivka, and from Harina mine on the occupied territory upon western regions of Horlivka. They shelled using a mortar of 122mm, and some civilians died and some were wounded, and that was monitored by the Joint Center of Control and Coordination. Also, shelling and coordinates of from where they fired. It is apparent by artillery reconnaissance of Ukrainian armed forces. Towards Luhansk, the enemy shelled upon our positions and on the broad area from Popasna up to Russian border. They were shelling, mostly using small arms and mortars. The facts of using big caliber were not noticed, and tanks were not used. The most difficult situation to the north from Bakhmutska highway in Krymsky and Sokilniki, where the enemy organizes provocations, and they're trying to find weak spots in our defense. They failed. During the last day, we don't have any casualty, but 10 were wounded. In ATO area, we finished construction fortification facilities during the trip to Donetsk region. The President of Ukraine looked at the construction of fortifications on our line of defense, which is not far from Mariupol. On the picture, you see one of our fortifications with CP, shelter, trenches, etc. That it is planned to build 300 fortifications, and 100 of them are completely ready. The head of the state introduced a new governor of Donetsk region and head of military civilian administration, Pavlo Zybivsky. In August 2014, as a senior sergeant, he participated in ATO, and in January 2014, and he was near Volnovakha and near Debaltsevo. Security Service of Ukraine continues to destroy infiltrators, informers, and supporters of militants. And in Lysychansk, SBU arrested a member of a legal military formation, Prizrak, with the nickname German. 46 criminals participated in military activities against ATO forces near Lysychansk.
Last summer, they also checked the Here, the information about participation of this Nimitz or German in the explosion of bridges over the Siversky Donetsk river. In the city of Shasta, the security service has detained a worker of the local electric station who was the informer for the bandit formation LNR. The enemy agent has systematically transmitted information about the units of anti-terrorist operation to the correctors and also directed artillery fire of the gunmen both on the city and the electric station. In Rubizhne, a woman was detained who was transmitting to Russian terrorist troops the data on location and numbers of Ukrainian units and also news about detained gunmen. The Ukrainian commanders are training in one of the general military training grounds of Dnipropetrovsk region. There is a combat training of the special unit of infantry. They are training in the conditions that are maximally close to combat. They are shooting from submachine guns, hand machine guns and grenade launchers, and also specific tasks as groups. In Training Center 184 of the Academy of Land Forces, named after Hetman Petro Sagaidatchny, the training of military who were called up during the fifth wave of partial mobilization is finished. Over 3,500 men have undergone training according to 100 specialities. At the moment, they are being sent out to military units of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Ukrainian artilleries are training to repel the tank attacks of the enemy. As is known, Ukraine is unswervingly observing the Minsk agreements as to the pulling out of heavy armaments and artillery systems of caliber higher than 100 millimeters from the delineation line. However, the artillerists continue to improve their skills at new places of location. Anti-tank battery, together with military engineers, have trained to repel the attack of the enemy. Artillerists who are armed with 100 millimeter cannons MT-12 Rapier have worked on joint action, and engineers were placing landmines. The division was formed in November last year. 95% of personnel are mobilized. Most of them already have a great combat experience. Our artillery has remarkably worked during the battles for Donetsk airport and Debaltseve. That's it. If there are any questions, I'm ready to answer. The Ukrainian national news, you're saying that there are no killed over the last day. However, the official site of the Ministry of Interior for Luhansk region has an official press release which says that the gunmen have 14 times shelled the territory of Luhansk region and one military was killed. The information is not different. This release was posted today, but we reported on this casualty yesterday. It is true that one military died and one was wounded yesterday. So this is the same information, but they have just published it later. You said that the Ukrainian artillery is hitting in response, but we do not know about any losses that Russia sustains for what they are doing here. Could you at least approximately tell us about their losses? in artillery or in personnel. The matter is that during the last clash next to Marinka, thanks to the work of artillery, we were able to quench the offensive of the enemy. The fire was aimed at the first wave of the offensive and at the second echelon, where more trained units were grouped from the chief reconnaissance intelligence directorate of the Russian Federation, and this action helped our guys to resist both those who were on offensive and to defeat those who had to come as the second wave. So our Ukrainian artillery's have taken very correct steps and and our reconnaissance also made their contribution by reporting where the units of the enemy are and where are the field storages of ammunition. So these were the points at which there was a heavy artillery blow by the Ukrainians. According to preliminary calculations, next to Marinka, the enemy lost almost 150 killed and there were several hundred wounded. This is the last example. Any other questions? No questions. Thank you, Andriy, and colleagues. Our working day